I got assaulted yesterday at the grocery store.
You got assaulted?
Yeah, a guy threw a thing of milk at me.
How dare
really?
he? Oh, how dare you! You suck. I fell for that one. Hook, line, and sinker.
All right, so we got a question for you.
Okay.
So
I love questions.
I know you do. All right, so you get $1 billion. Billion with a B.
$1 billion.
Yes, but
which, as we've established previously, ton of money.
Right. But you have to relive the same day for 10 years.
So it's Groundhog Day for 10 years straight.
10 years straight. Once you start, you cannot stop.
So I have questions.
Okay.
About the question.
And I have some rules, caveats, things like that.
Okay. So yeah, my biggest concerns in this so far is I get $1 billion. I have to go 10 years, same day for 10 years straight.
Correct.
Do I age during the 10 years?
No, you don't age. Nobody ages.
Everything stays exactly the same.
Once that the 10 years to the day when you start.
Day 3,651.
Correct.
I get my $1 billion and
in your bank account. Nobody knows,
and I'm exactly where I was.
Exactly where you was.
Does it start like the beginning of day one, like at the very whole beginning of it? Like that's what I get to pick up on day 3,651.
Every day is the exact same day. So yes, you would pick up on day whatever at the end.
Yeah.
Exactly where you started.
Oh yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
100%.
Really?
Yeah. Like I'm not aging, so I'm not like losing anything, right? So, but it's like every morning when I wake up, it's a reset. Like I'm back to the exact same spot.
So like, any injuries, any diseases, anything that you occur in that 24-hour period, is gone. But you are aware.
I know that I'm in this cycle, right, for 10 years.
Yes, but nobody else does.
Okay.
And nobody else knows after.
Okay. I'm thinking everything through. But yes. Yeah.
Okay.
For $1 billion?
Yeah.
And I don't age. I don't technically lose any time.
Right.
Yeah. 100% in on it.
See, like mine would be like I say yes, but it would take me a little bit to think about saying yes.
Really?
Just because you have to live
because my whole thing is like my mind runs wild with all the possibilities of what you could do.
Right.
Knowing what the day is going to hold. Right.
Right.
It's like I know where everybody's going to be, what they're going to be doing. It'd just be fun. Like by the time you get to like even just day 30, I can walk into the local coffee shop and be like, he'll have a white chocolate mocha with, this, that, and the other. And the guy's like, how'd you know? And I'd be like, the things that I know about today.
Right. Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's like, I wonder how long it would take the novelty of that to wear off.
Sure.
And then it's just, you literally do the same thing. Like, it's the perpetual rat race that, a lot of people go through where they get up, go to work, come home, go to bed.
I suppose, but wouldn't you feel like you'd have like a crazy amount of freedom with that many times repeating it though, right?
Right.
Because it's like you can screw up whatever you want to in your life for that one day. Not saying that I'm like trying to screw up anything that's important, but I'm just saying like I'm definitely not going to work. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. Yeah.
Like it's like I'm skipping one day of work because there's no consequences to that.
Right.
I would just have an absolute blast with it. Everything I've ever wanted to do as far as like things that I would want to do, but I don't want people to have to deal with the consequences of. Like, for everybody out there listening, if you call the cops on me, I swear I will haunt you. I don't want to do this in real life because of the consequences of it. But like robbing a bank, it's like everybody's thought about the thrill of like robbing a bank, stealing a car, like all those crazy kind of things that you can do and stuff like that. And you're saying like even in death, right? If I die, I just wake up the next morning and it's reset button for 10 years straight. Yeah, I'm just going crazy, man. Anything I've ever thought about doing, I'm just going to try it out.
Right. Okay.
No consequences to it. Like, I hit a reset button and go back the next day, and then after 3,651 times of doing that, I'm back to reset. Yeah. And big thing is now here's a good question: is there, other than me being responsible for it, is there something else that's telling me like when the last day comes?
Nope.
That's the danger in it, right? For me at least, because I'm like, I get to day 3,651, and
but you have $1 billion in your bank account.
I got $1 billion in my bank account, but you think about it, like if you've gotten into this pattern of like I just don't care and I do whatever I want, right? And you get to that day.
I think that's the true caveat of if you lose track of days, and you do something stupid.
That's the dangerous part to me is feeling like, man, what if?
I agree though, like that the danger of that complacency of that last day, doing something really stupid and being like, oh crap, like.
Yeah, because it's not like you can set an alarm or something, because every time you set the alarm, it just resets the next day and it's not there anymore.
Right.
So you would literally have to, having the knowledge of each day would have to find a way. Every night when you're going to bed, you would have to like drill it into your brain. Like it's like, okay, today is 496.
Because like you couldn't mark on a wall because that would go away. Yeah.
That would be the hardest part is like keeping track of how many days have I been. I got it. Easiest one in the world. The way to keep track of it. Every single day when you wake up, your first habit is checking your bank account.
Okay, yeah.
Because as soon as the billion shows up, you're like, well, that was the last one. Yep. All right, back to living like a normal human being again.
Back like nothing ever happened. I mean, that's good. That's actually good. Like I didn't.
Look at me figuring out the loopholes.
See?
Yeah, I'm firing on all cylinders today. Watch out, world.
Well, on that note, good morning, Josh.
Good morning, Josh.
Recognize me? No? Well, I'm Josh. I got suspended from school because of Josh.
You're going to be there with me in every way imaginable, Josh.
Josh is truly in a trance, yes.
I went to high school with Josh, and I can tell you right now, he's a terrific kisser.
Hi, I'm Josh.
Josh, these are people's jobs we're talking about, Josh.
Thank you very
much. Hi.
Josh walking in the door wasn't even close.
Josh, you are a muffin-snuggling pirate puncher.
Josh is a good guy. We can talk to him.
Please welcome Joshua. Josh.
I went to the gym this morning.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. For everybody out there listening, Josh comes in the house and he's like, went to the gym this morning, did a little workout, played some basketball, and he's like,
took a knee to the quad, and I have the world's largest Charlie horse right now.
Nice. We love it. No, I went, so Saturday mornings at our gym is strongman days.
Oh, nice.
So it's all the crap that you see on like strongman competitions on TV and stuff. And the ones that we did today, I never remember the name of it. They had this really weird bar. So it's like what, like you have barbells that you do deadlifts and bench press and all that stuff with. We have one of those, but it's like rectangular, so it's made just for grip. It's like big enough that you can't wrap your hands all the way around it, you know what I'm saying? And you have to kind of like pinch grip it to like pick it up. And so today's thing was like work up to your 1 rep max on that thing and then drop it by a certain percentage and do 3 sets of 4 with that grip. And man, my hands are already destroyed. And then after we got done with that, Amy's like, all right, now we're going to do some sandbag over the bars. And it was a 180-pound sandbag, which for some of you out there, you're going 180 pounds doesn't sound that much. Well, guess what? That's how much I weigh. So it was me picking myself up and throwing it over the bar. Yeah. So the Josh Warner that I've talked about on here before was my partner for that. So he and I were working together. But anyways, so yeah, I'm on the Red Bull today to get a little extra sugar.
Well, like that was the thing. Like when I was playing high school football, like we would have strongman competitions during our summer lifting. So we would do the tire flips, we would do the keg tosses. So I have a question though. So the iron cross where you have the barbells.
Yes, I'm dying to do that. We don't have it at our gym. Like as far as not like the full on thing.
Right, but like so what we did was we just had, I forget what the weight was, but we had teams. So we had like 4 people and you literally had to stand there and hold it for as long as you can. And once the first person dropped the weights, then, the entire team was out. But everybody's watching you do it, so they're egging you on and stuff like that. Like, so what our team did, and I want your opinion if this was ethical or not.
Okay.
We turned around. We faced the wall instead of going against. So we forewent the being able to kind of give a brief reprieve by like sticking your back against the wall really quick for turning around and not facing the people. So
okay, you're saying you turned around for the purpose of what?
Not having to like engage with like
not seeing the people and stuff like that while you're doing it.
Yeah, I
don't see anything wrong with that. Okay. I mean, I don't see how on that hold it would make any difference as to which direction you were facing.
But that was a lot of fun. We did a car push. We had to see how fast we could push one of our coach's car while he was in the car.
Yeah.
And he had a sunroof. and he would like stick his head out, like
That's
just
awesome.
like belittling us as we were trying to push the car across
Yeah,
the line.
not too long ago, we had there was a competition that some of the people from our gym participated in, and they had to do a truck pull. So you're like using the rope to like pull yourself forward while you're harnessed to the truck.
Right.
And so for practice for that, one of the Saturdays when we were out there, Brandon, who is our gym owner's husband, was in he has like a big, I think it's a Toyota. He works for the Redwood apartments that are around here.
Yeah.
He has a big truck that has like all their stuff on it, and they hooked it up to that, and so that's what you had to like kind of pull forward. So Brandon's like, he's sitting in there like cracking jokes. He's got music playing, all that kind of stuff on the radio while we were pulling the truck. So I thought that was pretty fun. So I have a kind of thing to throw at you today.
Okay.
You heard Brooke mention this earlier, but we didn't say any details about it because I just want to get like your take on it, your reaction to the whole thing.
Oh boy. Okay.
So I'll ask you a preliminary question, and then I'm going to ask you a secondary question that takes it deeper. Okay.
Okay.
So the question is do you have an inner monologue?
Yes.
So you have a voice inside of your head, right? So do I. And I think from what I've heard, vast majority of people do. It's kind of a normal thing to have like your voice inside of your head, even though there are some people that say no, they don't. Now, here's my question, and this is where things got deep for Brooke and I the other night, is do you have an inner dialogue?
So define what you mean, like dialogue, like actual, like back and forth.
Yes.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You have back and forth.
100%. No.
So I'll ask you from like Brooke's perspective, because this is how she described it to me. She said there's a voice inside of her head that will, and both of them are her voice, right? Like it's still her, but she says that like one of them will ask a question and the other will give the response to it.
Yeah. No. I have full-fledged conversations in my head. Like I rehearse conversations. I answer all the possible scenarios in my head. Yeah. No. I completely.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Like Brooke got so upset with me the other night because I was kind of ribbing her because I'm like, what you guys have going on is called schizophrenia, right? Like that's what I was laughing about. So, but for me, so like the way that mine functions, right, is I have an inner monologue that's my voice in my head, and I rationale through things. But for me, there's no like question and then answer. It's just like as I go through life, I'm presented with facts and truth and evidence in front of me, right? And in my head, I just make decisions or make definitive statements about, this is how it is. This is what we're doing. I just make the decisions and move forward, but there's no like
dialogue.
There's no back and forth.
So essentially what I do is I will, in my head, I'll be like, oh, okay, well, we're going to talk about this. Well, then the one voice is like, well, what if they ask this question? I was like, okay, well, then I have to think about it this way. Then what if they ask this? And then, like, yeah, I have a whole thing. See, the difference is this occurs solely in my head. So if I'm not talking about it out loud, so therefore it's not technically schizophrenia because, like, I'm not answering myself out loud.
Sure.
But, see, Brooke is an independent business owner, right?
Yep.
So technically she's having an employee meeting.
Our sponsor, this is all collective. Yeah. Well, but see, I don't know, man. It's just so strange to me because, like when you say, like, you're playing out scenarios and that you're answering.
Oh, they'll have different voices, too.
Yeah, see, that's wackadoodle to me. I was talking to Brooke and Sky about this, and Sky was like, yeah, she's like, yeah, I have the voices. Sky has a name for one of the voices, at least in her head, which I'm like, I feel like that's crossing the line. But they both got mad at me because I'm like, if you guys will just excuse me, I'm going to go pad one of the rooms upstairs and you guys get to live in there from now on. But for me personally and stuff like that, I don't have that inner like back and forth. And I don't know, like, it's not that I don't like rationale through things and think it through in a sense, but I just don't think that there's no back and forth like the way that you guys are describing it.
Right.
Like somebody's giving like hypotheticals.
This.
Yeah. Like it's not like us talking back and forth. In my head, it's just simply there's the one voice and we're just kind of making decisions and moving forward with things.
Right.
And so it's when she brought that up the other night, because she asked me, she's like, do you have an inner monologue? And I was like, yeah, like everybody does. And she goes, yeah, but do you have an inner dialogue? And I'm like, I just immediately kind of went off on her and was like, no, that sounds crazy to me.
Yeah, no, I completely do. I will rationale things out. I will ask myself questions, like,
Yeah.
and base it, answers and formulate answers and stuff like that. Like, my biggest problem, and I'm kind of so at work we have this whole leadership thing that we're working through.
Sure.
And we have, as part of it, we have one-on-one coaching sessions. And my biggest thing that I'm realizing is if it's something that I'm very passionate about, I will try to take over the conversation.
Right.
But I also have a very bad thing about formulating what I'm going to say while people are talking. So I've had to learn to rein that back a lot.
Yeah.
And, it's one of those things where I used to if it's in a classroom setting or something like that, or I'm talking to somebody, I'll start writing stuff down.
Okay.
But then I feel like I'm being a very bad person because I'm not making the eye contact.
That person feels like you're ignoring them because
right,
you're trying to write things down.
But it's also I hate eye contact, and that's kind of part of the tism, but it's fine.
As we sit and look each other dead in the eyes the whole time we do this.
It's one of I look at my iPad a lot, and it's I'm looking at different things to talk about. But yeah, no, I completely agree, completely understand that. I have that inner dialogue. There was one time at work, kind of related to this, but I had a bunch of different songs playing in my head, just thinking about different songs.
Yeah,
it reminded me of when you were younger, flipping on the radio trying to find a good song.
Right.
But it was just the snippets
yeah.
of the good parts of the song.
It's what's the name of that song that came out while I was high school? Oh, I can sing it in my head and stuff like that. I'll think of it in just a minute. But it's at the very beginning of it, there's the radio thing where it's it's one song and then it skips ahead and there's another song, skips ahead and there's another song. But it was a summertime hit that came out when I was in high school, and I'll think of it in a minute while we're doing stuff. But yeah, I know what you mean, and I have that issue sometimes of the thinking ahead. But I think that mine, the difference is you're thinking ahead for your responses and stuff, and I do that sometimes. Don't get me wrong. If people get argumentative with me, I'll jump to response mode real fast. But for me, there's the thing that I have a bad habit of doing is my ADHD rabbit trails. And so the person's talking about something, they say something that triggers another thought, and I'm off. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And so sometime I come back around and go, holy crap, I didn't hear anything they said. And now I've got to try to figure out how to put all these pieces together so I can actually continue in this conversation.
Right. Well, it's really funny because I've always been terrible at math. I'm very outspoken that math is my absolute worst subject. One day I was helping Harper, my daughter, with her math homework, and my dad was sitting in the living room, and she was asking me all these questions, and I kept rapid firing them in my head.
Yeah.
And my dad looked at me, he's like, "When did you get good at math?" And I said, "When I stopped having to write it all down."
Yeah.
When I stopped having to show my work, because then I get confused.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat as you, that I was terrible at math. The joke that I always tell people is I failed remedial math twice when I was in college, right? So that shows you just how terrible I am at it. Remedial means the stuff that you're supposed to have learned before you got to college.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't catch any of it. So I was terrible at math, but the older I've gotten, it's crazy now that people will be try to we're into the gym, right? They're like, well, what's 75% of this my 1 rep max or whatever it is, and I'll just spit a number out, and they're like, how on earth did you do that so fast? And I'm like, I don't know. When people stopped testing me on it and stopped making me write stuff down, all of a sudden I got really good at being able to add numbers up and stuff.
Right. It's I saw a TikTok, and it was it's why did I get marked off for this answer on my test? Well, your work wasn't right. I said, but the answer is right.
Right.
Isn't it? He's like, yeah,
that's
but
what used to drive me crazy.
Yeah, but your work isn't right. It's okay, so if I build you a house and I royally screw it up, the floor is made out of styrofoam, the roof is made out of concrete, and the walls are made out of popsicle sticks, but I proved to you on the blueprint that's what it's supposed to be,
and I used all the right techniques to put all those things in place, right?
Am I still are you still going to pay me? They're like, absolutely not.
Exactly. Thank you very much. As long as I get to the right answer at the end, what difference does it make?
Yeah, it's like the new way of doing math, like, you know, you kind of do the rounding thing. Like,
Yeah.
I've always done that, but I never knew that that was like a style of math.
Well, that's what's hilarious about this too, is that they drilled it into our minds. You've got to use this specific process
Right.
that we've taught you in order to get to the right answer and stuff. And now they have changed
Right, exactly. I mean,
all of the curriculum
and
stuff.
like,
I'm
don't
like,
get
that
me
doesn't
wrong,
make
like,
sense.
there is like an order that you have to do certain problems, but it's like, you know, 17 plus 27. You know, okay, well, if you add 3 to both of those numbers, you get 30 and 10. 30 plus 10 is 40, and then you subtract 6 and you have, you know, 34. So,
The answer was 44
or 44. What? No, cuz I said 27.
plus 17.
Really? Did I say 17? See, I still can't do it.
Because see, that was
Right.
my mind did the thing I was just talking about a second ago. When you said that, you kept on talking, and all I could do was do the math problem in my head
Right.
because I was like, oh,
Well,
now I got to
like,
solve this.
So I missed it by
No, you're good.
a factor of 10. Anyway.
Yeah.
Again,
Again,
bad at
we
math.
have both stated we are not good at
Right,
math. So
yeah.
if you're out there judging us right now,
So
calm
before
it down.
you comment, we already fixed it. Okay?
We corrected it. We're moving on. Don't bring up math in the comments.
Stop dwelling in the past. It's fine. But yeah, no, our inner dialogue, inner monologue, like, yeah, no, I
So
completely.
I am curious, though, and I'm going to throw it out there since we did talk about the comments. If you're out there, let us know. Do you have an inner monologue, an inner dialogue? Do you have an entire council that's going on inside of your head? We want to know from you guys, our listeners, where do you stand on this whole argument, and what's it like inside of your brain when you try to think through things, or just like, you know, because like Brooke was asking me, she said one of the big questions that came up was if you're sitting in a dead silent room, what's going on inside of your head? And Brooke was like, oh, she's like, I'm working through all these different things and talking and asking questions and all this kind of stuff. And she's like, what goes on inside of your head? And I'm like, nothing. And she's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. Like if I get into like a completely silent space and I don't have anything to do, I don't have anything I have to be thinking about at that point in time, I literally can sit with like nothing going on inside of my head for an extended period of time. And, you know, if there's things that have to go on and stuff like that, like if I've got things I got to accomplish that day and I'm just sitting down for a minute to eat lunch, let's say, and it's quiet, then I will think through, okay, when I get done eating this, we're going to do this. You know, I've got my tasks laid out for myself and how we're going to accomplish them and stuff. And if I'm sitting there and there's something that, like, you know, somebody has asked me a question they want me to ponder on, then I can sit and think that through and stuff like that. But if there's nothing pressing me for information at the moment and there's nothing coming up that I have to do, I'm fully capable of sitting in silence and there being nothing going on inside of my head. For everybody out there, if you want to jump in on this, let us know how you think, what you think about. Do you have multiple voices talking back and forth? And we're not trying to make you sound crazy. We're just trying to see, like, we know it's your voice, but do you have two of them that talk back and forth? What's it like in there? We want to hear about your brain space.
Right.
So, all right. What else you got for me today?
So I was thinking about this. Like I've always had different, like, you know, movies, TV shows, like plethora. Like especially like when we were younger, there were key moments in movies, TV series,
Yeah.
that emotionally wrecked us.
Oh, dude. I I don't know if I'm prepared to share some of these things.
So
with the world,
okay,
but
I have a list.
I will.
I went through and was thinking about this.
Yeah.
And I have a few because I saw this and I was like, ooh, we need to talk about this.
Okay. Hit me with them. Let's go.
All right, so the first one I have, classic movie, Hook.
Hook. Yeah. Okay.
When Rufio dies, like when he faces Captain Hook,
Yeah.
and he looks up at Peter Pan, he's like, I wish I had a dad like you. Like watching that as an adult,
Sure.
like it completely is like, dang, like that's.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I was a little old for Hook
Oh really?
when it came
Yeah.
out and stuff, and I don't know that I ever emotionally got like really tied into it. Like
Yeah.
I've seen it since then and stuff, but I was like never. It was never like a
Right.
tearjerker for me. Now, like Brooke, yeah, like she probably bawled her eyes out the first time she watched that, and maybe many times since then. But no, that wasn't a big one for me. But I do recall, like, I thought about that when that scene came on and stuff, of kind of being like, yeah,
Okay.
that would be a big one.
All right, Land Before Time.
Oh gosh, if you didn't cry
when Littlefoot's mom,
or if you didn't cry during Land Before Time at all,
or when the sharp tooth like grabs Petrie and pulls Petrie down, and you think Petrie dies.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that was a big one.
You have no soul if you didn't cry during.
I think I remember. I that's like one of my core memories, like bawling my eyes out, thinking that Petrie died.
Yeah,
like that was okay. Another one probably a little bit older for you, or we were too old for this. The Lion King.
Oh no, we're not too old for that.
When Mufasa dies.
Mufasa dies. It's getting stampeded by the wildebeest. No, I cried. I'll give that one. Like I was too old to be crying. You know, so I think that was one of those ones. If I recall correctly, it was probably like watching it with my family, and I do the whole thing where I just kind of like turn away for a second. You know what I'm saying? Like kind of like get myself together. Like man, but yeah, like again, that's another one. There's certain scenes in cinematic history that you can't watch without crying. If you do, you're just heartless.
Have you ever seen the movie My Girl?
Of course. Yeah,
back
in the day,
when what's his face gets stung by the bees and like wears his glasses, he can't see without his glasses. Like that's another big one.
Oh yeah, there were plenty of scenes in that one that are tear jerkers for sure.
Never ending story.
Oh gosh, yeah, Atreyu
and Artax. What was the name? I can't not.
The swamp, whatever it was.
Swamp of Sorrow.
Yeah, Swamp of Sorrow. That's what it was.
That's a big one.
Like he's screaming his name out, and the horse just slowly goes under.
You can't give up.
Like,
you can't give up. Yeah. This is another one that we are too old for this to affecting us.
Okay.
The two endings of Toy Story 3.
The two endings. Well, I remember like one distinctly.
When they're in the garbage compactor and they're about to get like.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Cremated.
Yeah.
And like they're all like one by one holding hands and everything, like going to that.
That one was pretty emotional, but the ending, the actual ending of the movie.
Yeah, when he's like, so long partner, like at the end. Yeah, that one gives me every time.
Oh gosh, like again, like how
like even talking about it,
like, if you guys excuse us, we're just gonna pause the podcast for a second so we can go get tissues. Yeah, that was a.
Did you ever see the movie Hardball?
Hardball, is that Keanu Reeves?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
when Shorty dies, like
that's that
Clever
one
when you call me Big Pop, like that one. Yep. Another one is
so I'm going to say this, like so far in this list, there were none of these that made me bawl.
Right.
Because like a lot of these I was a little bit too old for, but like for like, getting that emotional over it in a sense.
But like I've gotten very choked. Like I've gotten choked up.
I get choked up, right. And there's been like a single tear in some of these like that we're talking about. I've got some ones like whenever you get done with this list.
I have one more that gets me no matter how many times I watch it, it gets me every time.
Okay, give me.
And I know that I don't think this is a show that you watch regularly, but Futurama.
I used to watch Futurama pretty religiously back when I was in like early college and stuff. But
so when Fry they go underneath to old New York, they find the fossilized remains of his dog, Seymour.
Yep.
And then like he could bring him back to life and like clone him and everything like that. And then Fry's like, no, he lived a good life. And then they do the cut montage of him literally just standing outside of the pizza place, just waiting for Fry to come back.
Right.
Yeah, playing Walking on Sunshine. Yeah, so every time I hear that song, I automatically think of Seymour, and I'm like, he was such a good dog.
They're playing it on Walmart radio, and you're in the frozen food section just bawling your eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
All right, so what are some other ones for you?
All right. So I'm going to throw some out there. Like mine are maybe a little bit more like adult-oriented movies as far as like ones that are meant for older crowds that really were like, made me bawl, like my eyes out type of thing. I'm going to go ahead and give my funny one up front because everybody's going to make fun of me for this, so I'm just going to throw it out there. But the movie Con Air, do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
So is Nicolas Cage is a convict that's being like he is supposed to be being released from prison, and the way that they're getting him back to his home is they're putting him on a plane with 30, 40 other convicts who are all like the worst people in the world,
right? That
are getting sent to wherever the place is that he's going to go to, like a maximum security prison. And during the flight, they end up, overtaking the plane, all this kind of stuff. And then the ending of the movie, and by the way, this came out in like the early 2000s, and so this is not a spoiler alert type of thing. If you haven't seen it,
that's on you.
That's on you. So the plane ends up crashing in Las Vegas, Nevada, right? And so at the end of it, though, throughout this entire thing, when he was being released from prison, he had this bunny rabbit that he had gotten that he wanted to give to his daughter for her birthday when he saw her. And at the end of the whole thing, planes crashed, all these criminals, they either been arrested or killed, all this stuff has gone down, all the craziness and everything. And he goes and picks up this bunny rabbit out of like the water and the mess and everything, and it's all dirty and stuff like that. But he goes and gets it and gives it to his daughter. And I wasn't even a dad the first time I saw that movie, and I bawled my eyes out, like, and I do every time. I can't watch the movie without crying. And it's even and the bad thing about it is not even that great of a movie, not even that great of a lineup of actors in a sense. But it gets me every single time.
His accent, Nicolas Cage's accent in that movie is
terrible.
so bad.
That
came out in
Southern,
97, by the way.
Did it really?
Yeah.
So even earlier than I thought. But yeah, so that was one. That one got me. Some other ones that I'll throw out there for me, at least, like that were tear jerkers. We Were Soldiers. If you ever saw that Mel Gibson movie, it's a fantastic movie. But man alive, so Mel Gibson is like the commander of like a platoon that's going into fight in, I believe it was in Vietnam, and he tells them before they go to fight, he says, I will be the first one to step foot on the ground, and I'll be the last one to step off of the field when we get ready to leave and stuff. And he lost a ton of his dudes during this fight, and it kind of follows all of them around and stuff. And man alive, like there's like 3-4 moments in that movie that bring me to tears every time I watch it and stuff, especially that there's a reporter that they follow and the stuff that he goes through, the stuff that Mel Gibson goes through. There's just a ton of it to it, and that one's a real tearjerker for me. And there's a bunch of other ones. I mean, like watching movies like The Patriot. At the end of The Patriot, I cry every single time when the guy's like, Gabriel said we could build a whole new world. We just figured we'd start right here with your house. And it's like, you know, when he's saying that to the guy he's been fighting with and all that, that one's a tearjerker.
I was going to say Saving Private Ryan when he's like in Arlington. Like, yeah.
Some of those, like the war movies and stuff like that, it's kind of hard not to get like emotional.
Right. Yeah. Especially like the ones that are super well done. Like those, like I know Saving Private Ryan was.
Have you ever seen Band of Brothers?
I have not. I've heard so much about that series.
It's on like Netflix or Amazon. One of those. You should watch it. That's one of those ones that, especially when the guys who actually, like the real life soldiers that fought in World War II, they have interviews with them at the beginnings and the ends of the episodes. So they talk about what they went through and stuff. And there's several times throughout that'll just like bring you to tears listening to those guys talk. But yeah, so that's cool though. I appreciate you taking me down my crying memory lane a little bit. So
right,
I'm trying to think through. Oh, let's do a world's largest kind of.
Oh,
deal.
You got more world's largest?
So we have one more to talk about for Ohio. Okay. This is the one that I told you that I don't know that it still qualifies as world's largest, but I'll kind of tell you why as we go through it. So, and I think this might be one that maybe you've seen at least the signage for. I don't know if you've ever like been to it, but Big Muskie Bucket.
Oh, actually, okay. So yes,
okay.
We used to go down to the wilds a lot when I was growing up.
Yeah.
So yes, I've seen it. I have not actually been there, but I have physically
seen the sign stuff.
Well, no, I've actually seen
the
yes.
bucket. Okay, cool. That's even better then.
Yeah.
This was one. Shout out to Gabe Ramsire, because Gabe was the one that brought this up to me. He actually showed me a picture of him and his family standing in the bucket, which is remarkable. So for those of you that are listening, if you don't know what it is, Big Muskie Bucket is formerly the world's largest earth-moving machine. What remains today of it is a gigantic, and I mean gigantic, metal bucket. So if you think about like what you would typically see on the end of like an excavator, that bucket that's got the teeth and everything on it, it's one of those, but it's the size of a pretty good sized house. It's massive. The bucket today sits on a rise. It's overlooking this beautiful valley in southern Ohio that it once mined and destroyed. And so it's been renamed, that area has, as recreation land, because they're kind of like bringing it back to be its former glory in a sense before it was excavated and all that kind of stuff. So here's some interesting stuff about it. It was built in 1969, and Big Muskie could move. Just listen to this, because this is crazy. Big Muskie could move 39 million pounds of earth and rock every hour. 39 million pounds every hour. And so what it was digging for was coal seams, right? So it was 100 to 150 feet down in the earth is where it was going to find these coal seams so they could get coal out of the earth to be able to use.
Yeah, it was a drag line bucket.
So it could swing its bottom 600 feet, creeping across landscape for on like 4 giant shoe things that they had to kind of like operate on. And it had a drag line that stretched all the way across this valley where it sits now. And so if you can just kind of imagine like what kind of wire and line had to be set up in order to be able to hold this metal bucket that's the size of a house that's moving 39 million pounds of earth every hour. I mean, it's just crazy to think of the sheer size of this thing. But it was in full production all the way up until 1991, right? So it was created in 69. It went out of production in 91 when the bunch of the power demands and stuff like that kind of changed in the United States, and so they didn't need it anymore. For a lot of time, people could go and visit it where it was and still set up like it was running and all that kind of stuff.
That's where I remember it.
Okay, gotcha. And so in the 90s, they eventually, I think it was in 99, is when they transitioned it over. So they took it off of the wiring setup and all that kind of stuff and put it in place in the spot that it is now so that it could kind of become a tourist, attraction so people could come and check it out. There was an arch rival that kind of took its place as the biggest bucket for a little while. His name was Big Brutus. It's like that's a great name too, Big Muskie and Big Brutus. And so Big Brutus actually still stands where it was in operation today in Kansas, but as like an attraction in a sense, the same way that Big Muskie does. But Big Muskie was kind of taken out of operation right before Big Brutus was as well, and it's just this giant bucket now that sits down in southern Ohio. It's owned by the American Electric Power Company,
AEP.
AEP.
Yeah, my grandpa actually was a lineman for AEP, so
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So I when the Wilds first opened, like that was always like a point on the safari tour.
Yeah,
was to talk about it because it's very close to where the Wilds was when it was assembled and everything like that.
Gotcha.
So, do you know how much power that crane used while it was in operation?
I cannot imagine.
So it would draw around 13,800 volts to operate the motors in that bucket, which is enough power to power around 27,500 homes.
So it's kind of like a no wonder thing that they had to shut it down eventually and move towards more cost-effective things in a sense. But
yes, it was the largest.
27,000 homes.
Yeah,
that's
27,000 homes. Like, so a small city.
Yeah, for sure.
Or actually, like a mid-sized city, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was the largest dragline bucket ever built.
That's crazy though.
But yeah, it was funny. Like, as soon as you said that, like all the memories and stuff came flooding back from that. But yeah, I have heard of that, and I haven't thought about that in a long time.
Yeah. So for all of our listeners out there, we will this week, if you're listening to this, this week on social media posts and stuff like that, we'll have a picture of Big Muskie and probably we'll see if I can get the picture from Gabe and throw it up there of him and his family standing in Big Muskie and stuff, and then you guys can see just how immense this thing was, because it's huge. I mean, our words can't put into perspective just how giant this bucket is.
Just the bucket itself,
yeah.
Not the crane that operated
right.
it.
It's not the crane, it's not the lines and all that kind of stuff.
Which unfortunately, all of that got disassembled and everything and recycled is what I was looking.
Yep. Yeah, I had that in the notes somewhere that it was, the mining behemoth was dismantled for scrap. High explosives were used to blow off its 5-inch thick cables. 5-inch thick cables. That's crazy. And so, they had to use explosives to blow them up because people couldn't even be close to them when they detached, because that size of a cable, I don't know if anybody out there knows this, could basically just turn you into dust if it hit you on the way down. So they had to blow them up, and then they scrapped the whole thing, which is pretty nutty. But now it's the bucket itself is a giant tourist attraction down in southern Ohio. So if you ever want to go check out Big Muskie, you can go see it yourself. Maybe some point in time, we will be able to make it down there and check it out as well.
Yeah, most definitely. So you said 5 inches thick?
5-inch thick cables.
Do you know okay, just relatively speaking, something else that has very large cables. Do you know how thick the Golden Gate Bridge cables are?
No, I don't know if I even have a guess. I've never been to California, so I've never visited any
So
of those
those
things.
are 36 and 3/8 inches in diameter.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah. So like, because I've been to San Francisco and I know I've talked about it before, but like they have like a cross section of one of the cables like by the bridge and by like
Right.
the things, which
Just so you can see what it looks like.
yeah, I've actually ridden a bike across the Golden Gate
36
Bridge.
inches. That's 3 feet.
Yeah, they're 3 feet thick.
That's massive. That's
Yeah.
half of my height.
Right.
That's a big old cable.
But yeah, just to give you some comparison of how massive things really are.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. That's crazy. Well, as we get ready to kind of approach the end, I want to take a moment to thank our sponsor again. We talk about the Salt Collective very frequently on our podcast. We want to mention them again today. They've been with us since the very beginning. They continue to support us. They can continue to give us support and helping out with our social media and so many other things. So we just want to say thanks to the Salt Collective. I would encourage you to go check them out. If you don't know what they do, they partner with small businesses and nonprofit organizations to help them promote their business or their nonprofit organization and get the word out around their areas about who they are, what they're doing, and why people should come and be a part of what they're doing. And so we would just encourage you, go to remainsalty.com to check out all the things that they do and what they offer as a business. You can also check them out on their social media pages, either on Facebook or Instagram. You can see things on there as far as finding out information. You can see the different people that they work with, different companies they help out, different nonprofits. Take the time to look into it. Go to remainsalty.com and maybe they can help you out or your business or your nonprofit organization. If you know somebody that's involved in one of those, or if you yourself are, they could come alongside you guys, partner with you, and help you to do some great things on your social media and in your organizational side of your business. All right, remainsalty.com. Go check them out. Can I ask you one more question before we roll out of today's episode?
Absolutely.
Cool. This one came in from AJ and his list of different things he wanted us to talk about. And I thought this one was a pretty good question. And so I'll just throw it out there and we can both give our quick answers to it to a degree. He asked if you could travel back in time only once. So you're traveling back in time. He didn't really give any other caveats to this one, so we can kind of make them up as we go along, I guess. But if you could travel back in time only once, where, when, and why would you go?
Man, that's a good question, especially since he's given us free range on this one. Like, can we come back?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what we got to decide. Is it?
So and again, I hate to get nerdy and go down rabbit holes with these questions, but like, you know, the why there's no time travel now is because it hasn't been invented yet. Like, you can only travel back to so far to when it was invented type thing, but depending on what thing you subscribe. But
supposedly,
man.
all right, I'm going to pause you there. So supposedly, we would only ever be able to travel forwards in time. You would never be able to travel backwards in time.
But if you had a Rubik's Cube, because they keep getting solved
That's right.
in
Yeah,
slower
yeah.
and slower time.
Slower and slower. Yeah. So we'll have to talk about that sometime in the future. The Rubik's Cube conundrum.
I don't know. See, mine would probably have to be like, man, I would love to go back to like either like Roman Empire era or like Egyptian. Like I'm a huge history nerd. Like I would love to like go see one of the ship battles in the Colosseum.
Yeah.
Because nobody has figured out exactly how they did it. Like just to watch them do that and have like a full scale naval battle in the Colosseum in the middle of Rome, like that would be amazing.
So, yeah. Okay. So let me ask this then. Okay. Let's both give a quick answer as far as would that be your like, okay, you get to travel back in time once and it's round trip and you're only going for, let's just say a week, right? So you get to pick your kind of time period, or a specific time if you wanted it, and you get to spend a week there, and then you're brought back home. So let's get that answer, and then let's give the answer of you get one time to travel back in time, and you're not coming back. You're staying put wherever you go to.
Okay.
So what era do you want to live in a sense? So I would assume that your Roman Colosseum. That would be your, like that's your 1 week. Like you're going back to Rome,
for sure.
Checking out the Colosseum and stuff like that. You know, like the Christian and pastoral side of me is like I want to go back to when Jesus was with us. I think that if I was gonna do Man, if I was gonna do a specific, I think that Jesus would be my answer for the long term. Like I get one shot to go back, and I'd like to be alive, like when Jesus was on the earth, and then like for the early church, all that kind of stuff, right? Like that's my long term one, because then I could just like kind of live out my time and get to hopefully meet and be with and hang out with not just Jesus, but the apostles and the early church leaders and all that kind of stuff. I would love to kind of be around during that era, and so that would be my long term one. As far as short term, I don't know, man. There's a part of me that just always has this like kind of love for, in a sense, the Old West. I think it's because of like growing up around my granddad. Like my granddad watched westerns on TV religiously. It's like all he would watch, and that's all he read and stuff like that too. I grew up a big fan of Clint Eastwood and all of his old like spaghetti western movies and all that kind of stuff. And so I think that like if I was going to pick a time to go back for just a week to go and explore, the hard part is I don't know exactly where and exactly when I would want to be. You know, there's a bunch of these like famous kind of like gunslingers and outlaws and stuff like that. You'd almost kind of be like, oh, I wonder if I could go back and meet one of those guys. Would I like to somehow have been able to witness like the Alamo? Right. Or, you know, like what, like some of the famous things that kind of happened back then, but like I think that time period would definitely be like my short term. Like if I can go spend a week somewhere, because life was just hard back then. I don't want to like live
right
in the Old West in that sense, but just to kind of see what was America like for like a week in that time period.
Yeah, like I'm really trying to think of like when I would want to go and not be able to come back. Man, I don't know. Like part of me kind of wants to do like towards like the Industrial Revolution. I know things are like a lot harder back then, but
yeah,
I think you can. And this is me playing the 4D chess, leaving things to be found later to just kind of mess with people. Like that's like my thought, because it's far enough back where it's a completely different time period.
Right.
But it's soon enough that it's not going to be discovered and like discarded or things like that.
Could you imagine if you could like work it out just right so that you knew, like if we knew like a certain time when somebody like dug up a specific thing from history, and you could just like slip a coin or something in there that was like from our time period. You travel back, you still have it on you, and somehow you manage to like slip it in, or be like you write a note and put it in the guy's pocket and it says like, I can't wait for Futurama to come out,
right?
And they're like, how could he know? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way this guy. Like, he's like, this guy's from like 1783. How on earth did he know about Futurama or whatever? Or something?
Yeah,
but like something funny like
but
that.
Yeah, that's just my personality.
So you think you'd go back to Industrial Revolution times?
Yeah, probably around that area, because the country as a whole is still young enough where, you know, you have on the East Coast, you have the Industrial Revolution happening. West Coast, you have the new frontier, things like that. Like I think that would be a very interesting time to live in.
Yeah, it'd be kind of dope to go back to medieval times too for a week.
For a week. Yeah,
for a week. I wouldn't do it permanently.
Oh gosh, no.
No shot. The Black Plague and everything just rolling around. You're like, I'm definitely not trying to get down with that. But it would be fun to go back and just be like authentic night stuff. And
I mean, honestly though, it would be really would have to prepare a lot for it, but like go back dinosaurs and see what they actually look like.
Jeez, man, yeah. So that brought up one of the questions that I had in the back of my mind was like, can I take a gun?
Right, yeah. Like what are I guess we're setting the parameters, because there's no.
Yeah. AJ, you got to give us more parameters if you want to say.
Are we like Doctor Whoing it, where we have like a time portal and can transfer?
You can take stuff through. Yeah. Because I was just thinking, like, if it's one of those deals that's kind of like typical for movies and stuff, it's like whatever you have on your person.
Right. Or like, what if it was like Land of the Lost, where you're just driving and like a crack opens and you go down the hole.
Oh, yeah.
You still have a vehicle and everything. And
that'd be sick.
Man, that was a show, wasn't it?
Yeah. And the, what was it? It turned it into a movie too, right?
Yeah, with Will Ferrell, I think.
Yeah.
Will Ferrell movie. I never watched that movie because.
Yeah.
I like Will Ferrell, but in small doses. So
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, what do we want the people to do
So-
as we get ready to sign off today?
If you guys could go and follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, those are the ones that we post on the most. Interact with us, give us some ideas, give us some feedback. I know, like where would you go for your 1 week or have to stay? If you're listening to this on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, give us a 5-star review. 5-star reviews help us out, even if it's something that you say, hey, this wasn't my jam. Let us know, and let us know what you want us to talk about, because we are very open to taking suggestions, because like we said in previous episodes, this is just stuff that, hey, this scratched my ADHD for half a day, and we researched it. So
so if you guys can go on there and leave comments and stuff, we promise in one of the upcoming episodes we're going to be reading through comments, and so you'll get to hear some of that because we've been kind of neglecting reading them, so we've got a whole stockpile of them now that we need to read through. But as you've heard us talk about today, AJ sent over some questions for us and things he was interested in us talking about, and we're working our way through those. But if you want to add some on, as a matter of fact, I know that one of your friends has commented a few times before. I've got a subject in here from him that I want to cover eventually too. So we got all kinds of stuff that people have been giving to us, and we're diving in on those things. And then, of course, like Josh said, anytime our little ADHD brains get tickled by something, we jot stuff down, do some research, and we bring it back to you guys as quickly as we can. But just know it takes time for all this stuff to work out. And so we do want to get around to your comments. We do want to get around to the things that you guys want us to talk about as well. It just takes a little bit of time for us to kind of process through everything and get it all rolling again, because we record these way in advance. And so if you're like, man, I've been waiting forever to hear about this one thing, just know that it's not because we didn't do it right away. It's because there's lag time and we have to get to it. So just wanted to put it out there for you guys to know. But yeah, leave us a 5-star review. That's the best way to help us out. Give us all the reviews on Facebook and Instagram, places like that. Share it with your friends. The word of mouth is the biggest way that this thing will grow to any degree. And so if you enjoy listening, please share it with somebody that you like, and even people that you don't like. You can share it with them too. But share it with somebody and let them know, and we'd appreciate that. Otherwise, we will plan on seeing you guys in the next episode. Bye.
Bye. Our shenanigans are cheeky and fun. His shenanigans are cruel and tragic. I swear, the next person I'll pistol whip the next person that says shenanigans.
Hey, Favre. What's the name of that place you like to go to?
With all the
crazy
goofy stuff
crap on the wall
and the mozzarella sticks? Oh, you talking about shenanigans?
Oh.
I don't think you guys appreciate how hard it is for us to PG quote movies.
Oh my gosh. All the time?
All the time.